Hello and welcome to the RPG Academy podcast, Detention Live. My name is Michael, and I'm here tonight with guest co-host the Caleb G and Chris from the Redemption Podcast. And we're going to be talking what we've been up to. We're going to talk about Chronoturns. We're going to do some bad improv or do some improv badly. And we're going to do a pull the winners for the Pelotonia Raffle that Caleb's been running to help raise funds to fight cancer. And talk to the audience and do some other fun stuff. So without any further ado, Caleb, say hello to everybody.
Howdy, all you cats and kittens out there.
And then Chris, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
So we are going to change the format a little bit tonight. We have a little bit of a time crunch, and we do want to make sure we have enough time to do the drawing. But we're going to start, as we always do, with extracurricular. So I'll go to you first, Chris. What you been up to, buddy? What's been going on? What do you want to talk about?
Not a ton. Redemption's back to recording. We took a little break just to get things in life a little more situated. So that's been a lot of fun. And I'm just running a little game with some friends here locally, mostly over the internet, doing some Shadow of the Demon Lord. I'm taking some of my favorite IPs and mixing them in the game. So there's some Dresden Files, there's some Dragonlance, there's some stuff from some of my favorite TV shows. And so far they've all merged with the coins from the Black and Denarian. So they all have little passengers with them that are talking to them that they think are going to help them, but really aren't. So
it would not be Shadow the Demon Lord if they were helpful.
Yep. And they are about to meet their first encounter with Draconians. So half their weapons are going to get stuck in them and they're not going to know what to do.
Excellent. So have you seen Shadow of the Weird Wizard that Schwab is working on? It's supposed to be kickstarting soon.
I have. That's if I remember right, the more family-friendly version of Shadow of the Demon Lord.
Yeah, that's the way I understand it as well. It's basically the same mechanics, but it's a little less dark and Hail Satan than Rob normally throws to make it a little bit more wide audience appropriate.
I love the system, but I will say there is some aspects that are a little dark. Some of the spells are definitely a little rough.
There's that one I'm thinking of. You know the one.
Yes, we all know the one. There's a
whole tradition that is pretty rough.
So welcome, New York Tater. Always a pleasure to have you with us, sir. Tad B, thank you for joining as well. And you're here kind of on time today. Usually when Tad shows up, it's right when I'm leaving. So I was like, hi, Tad. Bye, Tad. But today he's here on time, so thank you. Foxblade is here as well. Have plenty of our regulars. Means so much. Thank you for joining. Anything else you want to talk about, Chris? And Tad has to leave.
Just binged a ton of Netflix with the wife. Umbrella Academy Season 2 was great.
Oh, so good.
Really good soundtrack.
Warrior Nun was surprisingly good. I don't like the big cliffhanger at the end. I don't want to spoil it, but I was like, I wanted more.
All right.
So I guess they did their job because now I'm going to watch Season 2.
Yep, that's pretty much exactly what they were supposed to do then.
Yep. Cursed was a little different than I thought it was going to be, but it's pretty good. And I could go on about all the shows because, well, we have plenty of time at home.
Yeah. Again, that's the benefit of anything is that you can finally watch all the things, and there are lots of things to watch.
Yeah. Other than that, just having fun playing some board games online. I know you and I have played Legendary.
Yeah.
I think we're batting 500.
somewhere in there. Maybe even like 650. I think we may have won more than we've lost.
Yeah.
But some of those losses were like very last turn. We thought we could have it, and then which is the absolute worst because you have to play the entire thing before you realize, you can't scoop and go, well, we're done, and now we're in. It's like 2.5 hours, and then you die. That's the worst. Thank you, New York Tater. I got some new lighting, so I think that's definitely helped as well. And then also, obviously, the pounds continue to come off. But thank you for saying something. It does make me feel good. Welcome, Tom Sparrow. I don't recognize your name, so if you're new, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. And, of course, Ramey, always a pleasure to have you with us as well. All right, so Caleb, I'll go to you, buddy. What have you been up to?
Well, watching a lot of PBS Kids, if we're talking about TV shows. So my daughter is just about 2.5. And when we spend time together, it's usually bouncing between 3 or 4 different shows that she likes. Daniel Tiger is up there. She has not yet understood the concept of binging. I'm like, kid, let's just watch start to finish. She's like, one episode, next thing, Sesame Street, next thing, Daniel Tiger. Come on, I'm sick of getting up. But we did find on Disney Plus Bluey. Bluey is the best darn show I've ever watched. There's like 50 episodes, I think. They're all super short, like 10, 11 minutes. I'll watch that thing start to finish without her.
Oh, wow.
Because it's good.
I've actually heard that one of the other podcasts I listen to, much larger than ours, so they don't need any plugs. One of their hosts has a young daughter and was talking about that show and just that it's like phenomenal. But my kids are just sort of old enough that I haven't felt the need to try to dive into it. But I've heard wonderful things.
Yeah, it's outstanding. Other than that, just been working, getting through the situation we're all in, and when I can, getting out to ride for Pelotonia.
And again, we've already mentioned, but there's a few people who jumped in. We are going to be doing the raffle drawing here in a little bit. You've been running a raffle to help raise funds. Do you mind sharing what you've ended up raising overall or through the raffle in particular?
So out of everything I prepared, I didn't pull that number. Oh, wait, I did, because I'm lazy and left it open from earlier. So currently right now for the raffle, I've raised $335.
Nice.
So big thank you to everyone who has kicked in over the past couple weeks. Pelotonia is a cancer research charity that started here in Ohio about 10, 11 years ago. It's all focused around just community, bike riding, and pulling money together. There's a lot of corporate sponsors that keep the charity funded and going. So when poor schmoes like me get out and ask for some donations, 100% of that money goes right to cancer research. Normally, we would have a huge, like 200-mile bike ride through Columbus every year, but things changed.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd get a little creative and say, hey, can anyone volunteer to run some games and give away some swag? And a whole bunch of really cool people did, including Chris, who is below me on my screen. I don't know what direction.
On the stream, I'm below you. So Chris is to your stage left. No, stage right, your left.
That way. That guy.
That one.
Yeah. So I very much appreciate everybody who jumped in to run some games, donate some swag, and we will announce some winners here real soon.
Yeah, very shortly. I'm running a game for that as well, and we also donated a couple of Catacon tickets for 2021. And speaking of Catacon, because that's a great segue I had to set myself up for, the Kickstarter for Catacon Ready Player Characters, which is going to be the virtual arm of the Catacon this year, and you can also pre-buy badges for next year's event, is going live in less than 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Tuesday.
Woo!
Yesterday, I guess, which is scary and awesome and exciting. Been putting a lot of work in that. I got the video done. It's about as good as most videos we've done, so not great. But this one might be a little bit more important because I'm afraid there are going to be people who jump on not realizing it's virtual or exactly what that means. So I tried to make the video a little more informative. Just it's not any better produced, but it is what it is. Welcome, Targris. Thanks you for joining us as well. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, hey, Targ.
As far as myself, been playing a lot of games actually. I think I've been playing more now than before. Through the Discord, I've been trying to run one shots every week, and I think other than 1 week I took off, I've done that for the past 5 or 6 weeks in a row. And that is going to continue, though there's a good chance it might start going every other week. Because both of you know, because you're in the faculty channels, I'm going to be starting a new campaign soon that's going to be for the podcast and possibly for a stream as well. I'm working on that, but I'm leaning really hard into streaming it, and mostly because then I have to do less editing because I say we streamed it. The audio's the audio. Deal with it. So probably going to do a bi-weekly campaign, and then on the alternate weeks run something else. But it's a ton of fun. I've been running a bunch of different systems, Forbidden Lands, which I really digging. I got on their press list because I asked very nicely. And so we did a full 2-hour in-depth review of Forbidden Lands. I love the game. It's so much fun. And Forbidden Lands is the newest campaign setting. And whatever I end up running, it might be heavily influenced by that. Dirty Habanero has joined us as well. Thank you. Another one of our detention regulars. And New York Tater is asking, is there any way for him to add in a dice bag that I owe him? Because he won it through something I gave away, and he was supposed to get it at a catacon, and I can't. So I can easily throw that into the big raffle prize pool if you would like.
Sure.
So yeah.
Sure.
So yes, New York Tater, we can absolutely do that.
Thank you. So for physical donation or physical prizes, a lot of the swag that I got was all PDFs and jazz like that. For physical stuff, when we draw that winner, I will surreptitiously pass that mailing address along to.
So I still have it because I just haven't given it to him yet. So if you give it to me, I can mail it to him as well. And I might throw a couple of. I got some other knickknacks and swags I can throw in.
The dice bag might be full of things.
Could be because I definitely have enough dice. TV and stuff like that. I watched Umbrella Academy 2, and I actually strung it out over 3 days, which for me is actually quite a lot. I loved it. I thought it was so good. Again, as Caleb already mentioned, the music is just top notch, and that's a big part of that experience is the songs. And we're rewatching season 1 because my wife was watching season 2 with me and kept saying, "Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Who's that?" Because that's what the relationship I have with my wife. And so we've watched the entire season 2, and she's like, "That's really good. We should watch the first season." Which I already watched the first season again in preparation for season 2. So now I'm rewatching season 1 again. Third time through, it's still good, but I'm ready for something new. Which means The Boys. I'm super excited. The Boys season 2 is coming out soon, and I am so excited for that. I loved season 1. So very excited.
I did like season 1 of The Boys a lot. When I knew it was coming out, I jumped around to a couple different places and read a bunch of the comics. I do not like the comics, but I like the show.
So I'm that way with Umbrella Academy. After season 1, which I loved, I'm like, oh, this is great. I went and I downloaded the first issue of the comic. I read 3 pages, and it's like, nope, this is not for me. It's a very different, same story, but very different tone.
Oh, yeah.
And I did not care for the tone whatsoever. I was like, no, this is not as interesting. So I would rather just watch the show and keep everything fresh and, be surprised by things that probably comic readers already knew. So, yeah, it wasn't
honestly, that's pretty good. The comic for Umbrella Academy is super weird. Yeah. It uses a lot of really interesting storytelling techniques within the art. It's not a typical comic book. And the storyline is mostly similar, but I really like the show. The show is an excellent adaptation. It's an excellent flavor. They're almost the same story, but they're different enough for both to be really good.
Yeah, I agree. And then just the last thing I'll say is I've been scanning a bunch of pre-gen characters. I have all these box sets for all these games that I've been running. So I've had some time. So I've been scanning all the pre-gens in so that I can have them. So since I'm running so many games online, so like I'm running Numenera tomorrow, I was able to share a folder with the players and it has the pre-gens in them. Just like if you came to my table, I'd be able to give them out. So I've just been going through every pre-gen I have. I have a really crappy scanner, so it's like a 2-minute per page. And like in both Force and Destiny and the Star Wars Edge of the Empire, they're like 8-page character sheets. So that's like half an hour to get each one of those in there. And then so I'm playing video games. I have my NES emulator. So I'm like grinding Dragon Warrior, which I've been streaming, getting more levels as I'm waiting for each page to finish scanning.
It only gets worse as you actually level up characters in the actual game.
Well, again, I only run one shots, and these are pre-gen, so they get what they get. But let's move on, because we are in a little bit of a time crunch. So the next thing we like to do here is the first of our improv games, and it is 10 things. And this is where we're going to prompt each other to try to come up with a list of 10 things. These don't have to be good representations of the prompt. They're more important to be immediate, but we do what we can. Caleb, you're my special guest co-host today, so would you like to go first, second, or third? As far as doing the prompt, not giving it.
I would like to go second.
Okay, so then, Chris, you prompt me. I'll prompt Caleb. Caleb prompts you.
Okay. 10 titles of books you would like to write.
Everything I learned about D&D is wrong.
1.
Everything you know about D&D is wrong.
2.
D&D is cool, but it's just mostly wrong. TTRPGs, a way of life with a big question mark at the end.
4.
Politics. Who the F knows? Scanning pre-gens made easy.
6.
Kickstarters ruined my life.
7.
Kickstarters made my life better.
8.
Zoom, I know how it works.
9.
And The Dark Tower, just because that's a really cool book and I wish I wrote it. Thanks to Targus for giving me that prompt. Yay! Okay, so Caleb.
Yes.
So you mentioned Bluey is a great show, and you mentioned that your daughter likes to go through a bunch of shows. So I'll just say, give me 10 shows that you have watched one episode of with your daughter.
Daniel Tiger.
What?
1.
Sesame Street.
2.
Clifford the Big Red Dog.
3.
Clifford the Big Green Dog.
4.
Because all colors are green to her right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Muppet Babies.
5.
DuckTales.
6.
The old school DuckTales.
7.
Gargoyles.
8.
She was not into it.
So she got some good taste. That's probably was yours.
Lilo and Stitch, the cartoon series.
Okay. 9.
And Bob's Burgers.
Bob's Burgers. Yay!
Because she likes Bob's Burgers.
Nice. So, quick interrupt. We took our kids to Disneyland World, but the one in Florida. They were a few years ago, obviously not recently. And the only thing John Gable remembers about the entire experience is when we went on the Lilo and Stitch ride and how much he hated it. It's this super duper long line. You go inside and it's this round room and you strap in like you're going to go on like a roller coaster, but nothing actually happens. Then there's just like this computer image hologram of Lilo jumping around and like spitting on people. And then there's like a water feature that squirts at you from the chair to make it as if it spit on you. And at the very end, he farts and the whole room feels full of this like stinky stuff. He was livid about this. We waited in line for like an hour and a half. This is like a 5-minute ride. It's so terrible. And he talks about all the time how much he hates that. His only experience, nothing great. He just remembers hating Lilo and Stitch ride. So if anyone goes to Disneyland World in the next few years, skip that one. All right. So my digression's over. I'm sorry. Caleb, you can prompt Chris.
All right. Chris, give us 10 things that are on the 8-page long character sheet that should not be.
Player notes.
1.
You should bring your own notebook. Critical injuries.
2.
They don't need to be there. The talent trees. Those
3.
don't need to be there. Your player name. It's your
4.
character sheet. You should have it in your hand. Let's see. Weird border.
5.
You don't need that. Blue background.
6.
You don't need a blue background. Rules explanations.
7.
Because the game master should be responsible for that. odd color pencil marks.
8.
My handwriting.
9.
9.
And little kids spilling things on it.
10. Yay!
We got to 10.
We got to 10. Excellent. So as I mentioned earlier, again, some people jumped in. I don't know. We're going to do the show's going to be a little bit different tonight. So we're going to take a moment and do the Pelotonia raffle drawing. So Caleb, this is you, buddy.
All righty. So again, big thanks to everybody who volunteered and donated. Really do appreciate it. So we are going to run down the list here. We had 10 different raffles, and the last one is a bundle of goodies. The other ones are all games. So for our first game, being run by Alex from Humanoid Games, running the excellent cyberpunk game Identico, we have, hold on, random number generator. Oh, okay. We might break the space-time continuum on this one, because the winner here is Mr. RKL, who's also running one of our games.
Oh, crossover.
So way to go, buddy, there.
Nice.
Raffle number 2, Mr. Chris Gray author on Twitter, running one of his games. He is currently kickstarting
American Witches, Gothic Witches, something like that.
Something like that. I should have been prepared to promote that. Sorry,
he's been
Chris.
on our show a couple times. He's done show and tell. So if you're interested, you can search his name and get to his stuff.
Yeah, he's a solid guy. And winner here is the boys over at Axon Punk, who are also running a Kickstarter right now for another cyberpunk game that I really like.
Axon, it's like upgraded Axon Punk, right?
Yeah, it's just an upgraded version, new art, new features. I know they're pretty close to finishing, and I think they're trying to get to a stretch goal of including a cookbook, which y'all know how I feel about food in my cyberpunk games.
Yeah,
if you remember.
And you can go listen to Axon Punk. We have interviews with them and an actual play.
What a coincidence!
I know. It's almost like there's a connection between you, me, and everyone else in the world.
Wow! All right. Raffle number 3, which is that way, that Chris? This way. Yes, that guy right there. Running some Star Wars or maybe Shadow of the Demon Lord. And the winner here is Worst GM on Twitter. Another Chris, I believe.
There's plenty of those.
There's lots of them. All right.
Like Michael's.
Too many mics.
Way too many.
Raffle number 4. Our friend Lord Neptune, Ryan, is going to be running the Chimera game that he has been working on.
It's a fun
that
system.
winner is stand by. Oh, another friend from Twitter, Viking Bear, Eli. Way to go, buddy. Congrats. Raffle number 5, our own fearless leader, Michael, whichever direction you are, probably running D&D because that's what you do.
I'll run anything. Whoever wins, they can pick, but yeah.
And that winner is, Steph, Scarlet Firefly from Twitter.
Oh, nice.
Our 6th raffle had no entries. We will skip over that in memory. Raffle number 7, good buddy RKL, probably running Descent into Midnight, a fantastic game that is being developed here.
Yep.
That winner is random number generator calculating.
We had him on the show. There's an actual play and an interview. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think I might have been in that game.
Yeah.
Richard. I can't say his last name right.
I just call him RKL.
Yeah.
This took a weird turn. We should probably stop. So the winner of RKL's game
It'll get funny again if we keep going.
Okay, so we'll keep going. The winner is Carmen Biomouse on Twitter. Congrats, friend. Game. Whoops, lost my screen. I have so many screens open right now, folks. It's bonkers. Raffle number 8. Eric from Gamers Table running a game of Shadowrun, which from what I understand is actually going to be, either canon or very influential to his current actual play, Resting Glitchface.
Good job.
That winner is Eugene K. I don't have a Twitter handle, but congrats, Eugene. Next raffle is mine, because I threw some games out there. As I said on the flyer, I'm drawing 5 winners from this from this pool here. So raffle drawing number 1 is Stacy. You all know Stacy from Podcasting Land.
Oh yeah,
definitely Stacy on Twitter. Raffle drawing number 2 out of my pool, Stacy again. I might be running a campaign for Stacy.
Yeah.
Raffle drawing number 3, Steph, Starlit Firefly.
Oh.
Number 4, Stacy.
It's rigged.
It's got to be rigged. Rigged by making a lot of donations with a lot of tickets. And number 5.
It's like that guy at a Catacon who wins like everything in the raffle every year.
That was RKO for a couple years.
But it was like Baron, I think it's Baron Zaleski or something. He goes through anything that doesn't have a whole bunch of tickets, he'll drop enough in and he wins like half the prizes every year.
Yeah. I do remember one year though where RKO won.
He's cleaned up good that one year,
yeah. Yep. And drawing number 5 out of mine is again Stacy. I promise you this was not rigged in any way. Stacy just overloaded the bucket with a lot of tickets.
She must like you.
I can't get rid of her. I've been trying all these years, but she stuck through me, even though I'm a jerk. Thanks, Stacy.
Nice.
And then raffle number 10, which is the prize bundle.
Which now includes a dice bag.
Which now includes a dice bag with possible mystery gifts.
Yep.
A whole bunch of PDFs. Some physical stuff, all kinds of goodies, some print and play minis. That winner is Robert, Mr. Stobert on Twitter. Congratulations.
Yay.
So again, thank you everybody. I will be tweeting out an announcement when we have a second here, and then I'll be putting y'all in touch with GMs and going on from there.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on the success of the raffle, and just again, the lady who I'm running for, just get me in touch with them. But I'll run any system that I know to run. It doesn't have to be D&D, but that's cool too. So, okay, so now we're going to move into. We're actually going to do cryptozoology next because we may not have time to circle back to used books. And Caleb again being our extra special guest co-host, not hoax. Brought a monster that I had never heard of before. Now, usually when we do these, I've at least got passing familiarity. I may not have used these monsters, but it's rare for me to be completely like, what the blank is that? But I was what the blank is that today. So, Caleb, please educate me and the rest on what the heck a Chronotyrn is.
All right. So, I went back into the history books here to find a Chronotyrn. A Chronotyrn is a giant 12-foot tall bird made of adamantine who also has an extra set of human arms. It considers itself to be the master of time and space.
Don't we all?
Yep.
It has 2 brains, 2 completely different personalities, 2 different thought patterns.
Steve Martin, man with 2 brains.
Yep. It can not only have conversations with itself, but it can take 2 full rounds worth of actions in 1 round. It is resistant to almost everything. It has bonkers damage reduction and damage resistance. It has bonkers spells. It has a special ability where it knows everything and makes all knowledge checks, no matter what it is, at a really good bonus. It can fling its adamantine feathers at you if it wants to. It has ridiculous spells and spell-like abilities, including things like temporal stasis and time stop.
So would you mind showing the picture? Because I hear you're flipping the actual book, and it comes from the Fiend Folio. This is the 3.5 Fiend Folio?
It might have been actually the old 3.0. I don't remember. But it's super old. This book is crazy, y'all. There is bonkers stuff in this book. There he is.
Okay.
My lighting's terrible, but look at that guy.
That's fine. I
got it.
So the one thing it is missing definitely is something for scale. Because you mentioned it was like bigger than a human, like 12 feet tall or something.
So I would assume if this guy's 12 foot tall, a human would probably be like there-ish.
Yeah. That is, as we say on Sesame Street, a big bird.
Big bird.
Big bird.
Yeah. So there's my... Oh, sorry, hit my mic. There's my guy.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So Tom Sparrow's asking for a spelling. Root word, please.
Root word, please.
Can you use it in a sentence, please?
This Chronotyrn is ridiculous. Don't put it in your game. That's how you use it in a sentence. Chronotyrn, CHRONOTYRYN.
Okay, so it's like TYRN it's like basically time, chrono, and then TYRN.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Is that like a bird name? Like is turn? Okay, all right. So I've never heard of this before.
Nope.
It sounds okay. My first thought is that it's sort of like what I envision a sphinx being in a game. You don't put a sphinx in the game for your players to fight it. You put a sphinx in the game for your players to interact with it. Obviously, sphinx are like, riddles and such. But this seems to be more like a powerful ally or enemy that shows up, messes with your world for a little bit. You have a fun roleplay situation where your DM is trying to maintain two conversations at once and fails miserably, but it's still fun. Have you ever actually used this creature in a game?
No, I have not.
Has anybody?
Well, throw it up to the audience right now. Has anyone, A, heard of this stupid thing, and 2, ever actually used it or experienced it in a game you played? So I have to assume there's a reason why you chose it then. Is there something about it that you find interesting or evocative?
Yeah, it's awesome. And it should be in more games. Look, the Fiend Folio was one of those books that they wrote back in the day when there was 1.5 million splat books. And I really think it was just every idea that had been on the drawing board at one point, and they said, that's dumb. We're not printing that. And then they ran out of things to print, so they picked up all those Post-it notes and printed them. Because other things in this book are like, there's flat out a xenomorph from Aliens. There's really weird zombie creatures. There's just like weird bugs. There's a lot of really weird templates. If you remember back in the old 3-point whatever day, there were like templates you could slap on monsters to make stupid stuff even worse.
Yes.
This is just a bonkers book.
Does that, again, I apologize for keep interrupting you, but is the author, is this like a Monty Cook thing? Do we know who's designed that?
Let's find out. Let's learn together. Eric Kagel, Jesse Decker, James Jacobs, Eric Mona, Matt Cernett, Chris Thompson, James Wyatt.
I think I've heard of one of those people. Not that that means anything, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't like top of the line designers for 3.0.
I mean, yeah, this may have just been like an experiment to see.
I think this was created by the guy who gets frustrated because he's got the party that they walk into the bar, they see the angel sitting in the corner, and they attack it.
Yes.
So the game master's like, okay, let's play. And he throws this at them, and they just keep hitting it with everything, and it doesn't do any damage. And this thing's having two conversations with itself, and it's like, why are they doing this? Oh, I really need to tell them this. And then they can have that conversation while they're attacking it, and the GM can just kind of laugh and go, are you done yet? Have you gotten the clue that you need to listen to him to get your mission? That's why. That's how I would use him.
I definitely see it as a quest giver or a source of information because it knows everything. I could definitely see it as a big bad final boss when you get to epic high level fighting. He could be really cool as an ongoing enemy over an entire campaign. He's got time control powers. He's got crazy magic spells and spell-like abilities. He could always be flirting in and out of the story. His agents could be doing things.
And since he's got two brains, he could be the good guy and the bad guy.
Oh, wow.
That is awesome.
Which could really mess with your players when they get to the big bad guy and they think he's the good guy, but he's really flip-flopping personalities.
He could be like his own inside agent feeding you.
It's good cop, bad cop from Lego Movie.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the good cop shows up every now and then and like writes a note and sends it off, but the other brain doesn't realize it's happening. And man, like that would be hard to role play though without just being like meta. Like, okay, here's what's happening. Like in the like you could do it like if they're sending their agents or you're getting messages, but like in the moment where you're actually there with this thing. And all the players are like, hey, dude, what's up? And they're like trying to high five it and it like slashes them with its adamantine feathers. And then like the good guy part's like controlling one arm and it's like trying to use sign language. And like that, my head is starting to hurt thinking about how that would work.
That would be really entertaining though.
It would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I could see it almost like, this popped in my head is Dr. Dinosaur from the Atomic Robo comic and the game
yep.
Where he pops in, it talks to each other, so it sounds like it's literally insane. Does something that doesn't seem to make any sense at the moment because it has to do with time. Like it's like it moves a salt shaker 2 feet to the left, and it's like aha, and then disappears. But you don't find out till later that caused the apocalypse or that stopped the apocalypse because if the salt shaker had been in the wrong spot, like it would have knocked over and a fairy would have been trapped there or whatever. But I think that's how I would want to use them as just like an agent of chaos that at the end of the campaign, I could be like, so here's what that meant and try to make it all make sense.
You could even do something along those lines. Like he pops up randomly, no explanation. You don't get it. And then somehow the story takes you to maybe rescuing him from some sort of weird time prison. And you have to rescue him so that he can go back in time and do those things you saw him do.
Because if he doesn't do them, then there's an anomaly or something.
Yeah.
What if he's the head of the time police? And the entire time he's been testing you. And then at the end of the campaign, he recruits your party to come help him keep time and space in order. I
mean, we're kind of getting into Umbrella Academy territory there a little bit with the commission, but still, I mean, that's not a bad thing. That would be very entertaining. Just going back to the whole final confrontation where he's there with you, because he can cast 2 spells. It can do 2 things in every turn. So he can basically cast like a fireball and like a heal spell or counter spell himself. So like both hands are choking. Again, my brain is kind of melting thinking about that, but it might be kind of fun. All right. So anything else we can think of how we could use this creature that wouldn't just make the entire party be like, flip the table and know we're out?
Is it challenge rating? Is that the term they used to use?
Yes. 19.
So
I don't remember what those numbers mean though, but
I think that means the party's level needs to be an average of 19 with
for the most part
players, 5, whatever.
There
was
give or take.
Formula.
Yeah. It's definitely intended to be an epic level encounter. Way back in the day, you would get DR based on the modifiers of your weapon. This guy had a DR 20 to a +3. So that means he would always negate 20 damage unless your weapon was a +3 or better, which is super expensive and crazy. And he also had resistance 20 to pretty much all elemental damage. So just 20 points off of any kind of fireball, lightning spell, bonkers.
Well, most weapons had elemental damage added to them.
Oh, yeah.
Negate that.
So, yeah. You basically could not touch this guy, and he could sling 2 rounds worth of spells at you in a second. I could see using him as like he's in he's locked away somewhere, and maybe it's not a prison, maybe he's just in a different dimension, or he's on a different plane, and you have to do a quest to unlock the planar gate or prove to him you're good enough, and then, or maybe prove to someone else that you're good enough, and then you get this guy as your partner to get through some sort of secondary really crazy quest.
Or he's the guy that has to open the portal that lets you go save the princess type thing.
Yeah. Maybe the thing that you need to find, the princess, the key, the artifact, whatever, it existed decades ago, centuries ago, and it was lost. And the only way to use it now is to go back in time. So you have to find this guy, go back in time, find the magic whatever, and then bring it back to the future to stop the big bad apocalypse or whatever.
Think about how hard that would be to convince both personalities to join it. To join you and your cause. That could make a really cool role-playing scene. Is, the bard is trying to convince one personality and the paladin's trying to convince the other, or however you want to play that. And that could be a really cool role-playing scene.
Yeah. I like the idea of maybe this isn't like a race of beings, like this is the only one, and it's actually 2 versions of itself from 2 different time periods that, you're not supposed to meet your time period self. And that's why it has 2 distinct brains, is because it's actually 2 versions of itself that have merged together. So again, the idea is to try to unmerge them, which might even mean killing one of the 2, because if they don't unmerge, then that's going to cause like a temporal, back, like a Star Trek Next Generation, go backwards in time and life never happens situation. So yeah, I like the idea that it's just the same version, like maybe 2 seconds off.
Or what if you had 2 different versions of reality that somehow got merged together, and there's these weird little artifacts of the wrong version of something that's apparent, or the wrong version of a person or a location. But this guy, he's the only one that knows what's actually happening, because he got merged into one body. And you're adventuring to do whatever. You find him along the way. You realize, oh, these are 2 completely separate worlds. And you work with him to maybe separate them. But then the question becomes, well, which version am I? Am I going to go back to world A? Am I going to stay in world B? Is my friend, my partner, my spouse, where are they going to go? That could be kind of cool too.
What if you ran 2 different parties with 2 different groups of players that are playing the same characters? Then they meet at the end.
Like you're running almost the same adventure, but you've got 2 separate groups playing the characters, and then you get to the end and magic, whatever. Now both versions are there. So 2 different people are playing Joe the fighter.
There's actually a game that Tom and I have ran a couple of times at a convention that's sort of based on, it's a 2-table game where each party is essentially an alternate reality version of each other. One comes from a very magical, rich world. Another comes from like a very low magic, desolate wasteland planet. And once they get near the end, they start switching places. So like we'll take, like number 4, you have to now go to that table and you have to go to this table. And then they don't realize that they're in the opposite world. They look kind of the same, but one might be a bard in one world and a rogue in the other, but they basically look the same. And so that adds that table hopping. So it definitely could work. Again, more for like a con game more than a campaign for me. That's how I would want to do it. But definitely you could do something very similar to that where you have alternate versions of each other jumping back and forth between each reality and having to interact with their friends who in like one world you might be lovers and the other you hate each other and you're rivals and like dealing with the role play of wait, I thought we were married and now you're trying to kill me. Well, no, that actually is the same thing. We were friends and you're trying to kill me.
Yeah, he could just be the typical generic super powered being that pulls people together for gladiatorial combat. A la Thor Ragnarok.
Or Beyonder Secret Wars situation.
Yep. Yeah, he could be the only one aware of existential universe threat, and he has to collect you for stuff. And he could just be the source of knowledge and power when you need him to.
Okay. I think this is very cool, but I'm trying to watch the clock here, and I know that Caleb has to go fairly soon.
I got like 5-10 more minutes.
And I'm pretty sure that New York Tater would flip the table wherever he is if we don't do Where Have My Fingers Been. So we have to at least have time for that. So probably got time for one more. Any other thoughts, Chris, you can think of on how to use this or following along our thoughts process already, just to button it up or anything?
Maybe he's the center of a magical storm that's going across the world. So then you can play around with some wild magic and he's caught up in that. And once you free him, you stop the storm or kill him if you're high enough level.
I like the idea of like the repeating day, almost like a Groundhog Day thing where you, and it's a pretty boring day. Like you go into town, you go to the inn, you go to sleep, and then you get the next day you're walking into town again. And, this goes on for a little while. And then you realize that this Chronotyrn has to be dealt with, but that kind of thing.
Oh, that's the game I want to play. That's it, right there. Palm
Springs meets Groundhog Day because there's more than one of them.
Yes.
Nice. All right, so we will wrap it up there. But again, there's been a lot of chatter back and forth in chat too about some stuff here. I think there's definitely some gold ideas in there that maybe if anyone does end up playing, anyone listening now or maybe listening in the future would love to hear how it went, if you've ever used it or if you take one of our suggestions. So we're going to jump into Where Have My Fingers Been, which is everyone's favorite and least favorite part of the game. This is another little silly improv game. Caleb, once again, you're the extra special guest co-host today. Would you like to go first, second, or third?
I forget how to play this game, so let me go third.
Okay. So you prompt Chris. Chris will prompt me. I'll prompt you. But remember, Chris, before you have to do the song first.
Do the song first, then he gives me the thing, right?
So basically, he's going to sing a little song at the end. He's going to say, "Where have my fingers been?" You're going to then tell him where his fingers have been, and he will have to create a scene using his fingers as puppets in the scene that you described.
Okay.
All right. I remember the song. Oh, where have my fingers been? Said, where have my fingers been?
Yeah.
Chipotle.
The one restaurant I've never been to.
Perfect.
Hey, I'm really excited to go here. But you're losing so much weight. Can you really find anything good to eat here? I'm sure I will. Michael says it's a great place. Really? And he's lost all that weight? Yeah. All right, well, let's go eat. And that's where my fingers have been. Because I absolutely know nothing about Chipotle.
Fantastic. Thank you. Identico is now following us. I got the little pop-up that happened in the stream because, again, Tom's a genius and he told me all that kind of good stuff. All right. So, Chris, you will now prompt me where my fingers have been. So, where have my fingers been? I said, where have my fingers been?
Stuck on a ride that you've been really excited to go to, and it keeps farting at you every 2 minutes.
I can't believe we're here. I know. It's crazy. Like the entire park is shut down because no one's supposed to be out. But we snuck in like in that movie and we're on this ride. It's crazy. I know. But at the same time, did someone take a big hairy pee in the car? Because it really stinks. Actually, that was me. I had Chipotle before we came here. And that's where my fingers have been.
Oh,
time.
that was a good callback. Very good. All right, let's shake it out.
Shake it out. Lion face, sad face. Lion face, sad face.
Where have my fingers been? Say, where have my fingers been?
Your fingers are bailing other fingers out of jail for breaking into an amusement park.
All right. Do you have all the stuff? I have the duffel bag. Did you fill the duffel bag? No. Okay, so we have to fill the duffel bag first, or we can't do anything. Can I order it on Amazon Prime? No, because they use the post office, and the post office isn't running. Damn it. Let's go to Best Buy. Okay. That's where my fingers have been.
Yay! Where
Not
have my
sponsored
fingers
by
been?
Amazon, Best Buy, or the post office.
Those are like the three tripods that keep America running. If those three go down, it's just
The
chaos.
most part, yeah.
Mass hysteria, cats and dogs living together. All right, so we're going to jump into Q&A. Caleb will stick around for as long as he can, but he's going to have to jump off. When he jumps off, there's a very good chance, in fact, I'm like 99%, that our little Zoom windows are going to go crisscrossy, and I have no idea if you're going to be able to see Chris and I, but we're going to carry on through the audience Q&A. We're not going to do used books tonight, and we will we'll come back to it next time when we have a little bit more time. So there's a bit of a delay, even more so now than usual because we're on a bit of a delay because my internet sucks. But if anyone has any questions in chat you'd like to ask me, Caleb, or Chris, doesn't have to be RPG related, but that certainly helps. We will certainly like to do that. While we're waiting for chat to catch up, Caleb, where can people find you and your stuff on the internet if they want to get in touch with you?
So I am on Twitter at TheCalebG and Instagram at the same handle. And that's pretty much it.
All right, so Dodie Habanero says, be careful about the post office shots. I think we say that lovingly because we're frustrated with what's happening. We don't support what's going on with the post office. We love it. We want it to thrive and survive, and all those who work for it to be able to do their job to the best of their ability without interference from others.
It was a jest in love trying to make light of a terrible situation that is weighing heavily on all of our hearts and consciences and making life very difficult.
Yes. All right. So, Chris, again, while we're waiting for anybody in chat to have any questions, where can people find you and your stuff on the internet?
Twitter, Burlew _Chris, because somebody else already had Chris Burlew, so I had to flip-flop it.
Jerks.
Yep. Redemption Podcast. You can find that on pretty much any podcatcher. There's still some episodes out there of Tales of Blood and Stone, and we have recently recorded a few new episodes.
Ooh.
So once the world gets a little calmer and we can all get back to doing some recording and editing, we're going to try to get that going again.
Nice.
Cool.
Very, very cool. So as for myself, again, at the RPG Academy, pretty much everything I do can be found there because I won't stop talking about it. So basically, I will shower you with notices like, hey, this is what I'm doing. The only thing that maybe isn't on there a lot is the Farm to Fable, which is the Smallville podcast that I started. We have recorded all the first 20 episodes of season 1. I have the season finale left. Most of them have already been edited, but there's a couple more, but they're coming out weekly. Episode 15 came out this week, so there's 6 more episodes left in season 1. We're going to take a little bit of a break and then jump into season 2. The Acadicon Kickstarter goes live in 2 weeks from yesterday. Super excited about that. Tom Sparrow asked about the Discord. So anybody who wants to join the Discord can. We just don't publicly post the invite because we had some people very early on jump in and be jerks and had to get banned. So you can either find me on Twitter, find me on Facebook, and I will DM you an invite. Or if you don't do either of those things, you can email me at therpgacademy@gmail. Just put this is Tom Sparrow on an invite from the Discord, and I'll get it to you right away. And thank you, Dirty Havano, for reminding me. Yes, we do have a Patreon. If you would like to support us monetarily, we certainly would not be upset about that whatsoever. You can go to patreon.com/therpg Academy. For as little as $1 a month, you can help us do all the things that we do, including buying these new lights that make my face look so good here on the stream.
As opposed to my terrible lights that make me look like this.
I'm in the middle.
All right, so Tad has a question. If you are a player and a never-changing DM forces me into a situation where I have to change the sexual orientation of my character because they are uncomfortable. What should I do? All right, so that's a big question.
So the GM is uncomfortable with the character's orientation?
That's what it sounds like. So never changing DM is in quotation marks. So I feel like it's a DM who doesn't feel comfortable with Tad playing the sexual orientation that they are. We don't need to get into specifics as what it is, but basically there's a situation where players playing a character in a way that the DM doesn't like, but neither one wants to change their approach. What should they do? So big surprise. I'm going to say this would have been a great session 0 conversation, that before we ever actually got to the table, we would talk about the characters we're playing, the tone of the game, and this would have been a great time for that to come up. But certainly possible that maybe that didn't happen, or we didn't know that it was something we need to talk about. It's going to be an adult conversation, probably away from the table so that there aren't other people involved, and ask a bunch of good questions as to, like, why is my character making you uncomfortable? Is it that, I'm going to use an example, but let's say Tad is playing a sexual orientation that isn't their own, and the DM just thinks, there's no point in that. You're straight, you're playing gay, you're playing straight, whatever. I don't see the point of playing opposite of what you actually are. That might be something we talk about. Is it just that they don't want to deal with someone that is playing a sexual orientation that maybe they don't agree with? But you're going to have a big adult conversation. And as Targar's jumped in, that might just be a game you don't play in. If you're making the DM uncomfortable, then either that's not a game for you, or one of the two of you is going to have to make a change. And this isn't even bringing into the fact that other players at the table may also be involved. So without having the actual specifics is harder to say, but big boy or big girl conversations as adults with the DM, one of you is going to have to bend, or you're just going to have to be like, this isn't the game for me, and go find a different table to play with people who more align with what you're wanting from the game. Anything that either of you would add to that?
I'm going to try to answer, and then we're going to have an experiment because I do have to vacate the premises.
Sure.
Okay.
I very much agree with you. I think game safety, player safety, and comfort is super important, especially in this day and age. I think if something is happening at the table that is definitely making you feel uncomfortable, that should be a very tough grown-up conversation. And ultimately, if it's an unstoppable force versus an unbreakable wall, you got to go two different ways. Don't force yourself to do something that you don't feel comfortable doing. We're playing a game. We're playing pretend. You should have fun. This is for entertainment. This is not a job. This is not a chore. You should be allowed to have fun when you're playing an awesome game.
So one thing I would say here, and again, Caleb, if you have to jump off,
Thank you all. I will see you soon.
Yeah. So again,
Caleb,
when he jumps off, things are probably going to go screwy here, but we're going to keep going at least for a little bit. Actually, I wonder if I can. All right, I'm not going to worry about it. So for example, it's weird. One of the games that I played in for a while was on the podcast for a while. I decided that I've never used a voice before. Like I've joked about it, but I'm not good at voices. I never actually tried to use a character voice. And then I decided one time that I would. And I decided to do a Jamaican voice. And my heart was in the right place. I wasn't trying to be insensitive. I wasn't trying to be stereotypical or a caricature. But that's what it turned out to be. And it was like I had fun. The players were laughing at my bad Jamaican accent. And it wasn't until later that I started thinking, you know what? Even though I wasn't trying to be insensitive, it probably was. It was probably insensitive. So I've actually went back and taken those episodes off the podcast because I felt like I didn't want someone to think that I was being insensitive. And that's not what I wanted. And I've had a similar situation. Like for a long time, I wouldn't allow people to play cross-gender. If you were a guy, you had to play a guy character. If you were a girl, you had to play a girl character. And the only reason I did that is because every time that didn't happen, it was awful because I was playing with a bunch of immature people, because I was immature too. I mean, this was back when I was in college and high school and stuff. But basically, if a guy played a girl at my table, 99.999% of the time, it was so that they could get naked with everything and anything. They just wanted to have that weird fantasy of sleeping around, whatever. And so I just got to the point where, like, you know what, I'm just not going to deal with that. But now I've got to the point where I feel like there are people who could play cross-gender and do it very well. In fact, probably the favorite character I've ever played was Army from Wrought Iron, which was a cross-gender. It was a female character. Loved playing her. She's one of, if not my favorite character I've ever played. But it was not about me just trying to like get my rocks off by playing a girl. So that would be part of my question is, if you're playing a sexual orientation that's not your own, is it because you're trying to explore something and there's actually like, you know, you're interested in trying to see a world from a different point of view, or are you playing a caricature? You know, if you're a straight person, you're playing just a over the top flamboyant gay person, and that's like funny. Then I, as the DM, would be like, no, I don't want you to do that either. But if it's someone like the DM is just like, yeah, honestly, maybe a bigot, and they just like, I don't like gay people, so I don't want anyone to play a gay person at my table, whether they're gay or straight. That's a straight no for me, and I'm not going to participate in that type of game. So there's so many things about it that come down to a good session zero, adult conversations, and making sure that you're comfortable with the people that you're playing with. All right, I'm gonna see if I can fix this now while you're talking.
Okay, I agree with what you said. To me, role playing is our escape from what's going on in the world. So you should be able to play the character that you want to play and have fun with. And if you want to explore something new in a character, you should be able to. At the same time, I think you should be comfortable playing that character. And I think that the game master should do everything they can to make you comfortable. I shouldn't say make, allow it to happen and create an environment where you're having fun with it. So if the game master's not willing to bend, I kind of agree. It's probably not the game that you should be in. Or maybe you should, you know, if you really want to stay in that game, then you might have to make a new character just to make them happy, and then take that character and play that character in a different game. It's a tough situation. And as a GM, sometimes it is tough to keep things happy for players. And sometimes you feel like you want to kind of put your foot down and go, no, this is the way it's going to be. I just feel like this is kind of the wrong spot, unless you're being offensive with it. If you're being offensive with it, then yeah, I would probably say, hey, let's rein that back.
Right.
Now, I'm running a Star Wars game that has a person who, when we started the game, was male playing female. Kaylee has since then, or is in the process of transitioning. So, you know, I think the character helped her kind of explore some of that. And I think playing the game and feeling comfortable with the character and comfortable with herself, I think that helped a lot. And we did everything we could to encourage that.
It really is a big, weighty question. And I do appreciate Tad asking it. You know, again, but keep in mind that currently there's 2 straight white dudes that are trying to answer this. We may not be the most experienced. As far as I know, Caleb's straight too, but I don't know. Never asked him. So you've had 3 straight white dudes probably trying to explain this, and it's definitely more complex. So trying to get away from sexual orientation and just say, if I'm playing a character the DM doesn't like, and it's like, hey, can you play a different character? Then it's going to be questions like, why? You know, is it you just don't like it? Is it disruptive? I mean, it's possible there's another person in the game who maybe isn't comfortable with their sexuality, and seeing this character act in that way is making them uncomfortable, and they've said something to the DM and you don't know that. So it's, you know, I think we can keep answering forever, but it's going to come to have an adult conversation with the DM, and either, sorry, I'm trying to read chat as we go. Either you're going to agree to change, they're going to agree not to make you change, or you need to find a different table. New York Tater took off. They're already gone. I'm sorry, but thank you for joining. And then we also had someone else. Currently, their chat isn't up. I think it's like Wota jumped in. Wasn't familiar with that name. Thank you for joining us and hanging out with us as well. So, any other questions that two straight dudes can try to answer about role-playing games before we move on? I do appreciate the question, though. I don't want anybody to think that I feel like I'm an authority on this. I'm not. I've played a couple female characters. I've enjoyed playing them. And I have in my past played characters terribly trying to do things that I'm not. And it's, again, I use the Jamaican conversation because it's probably safer in a way. I don't want to ever make anybody uncomfortable. I thought I was trying to do something well, and looking back at it, I was not. And I decided to pull those episodes because it was borderline offensive just through ignorance. And, it could be something along those lines where maybe you don't see yourself doing something insensitive, but maybe it is. So I don't know. Anyway, I think we're done with that. So let's move on. Again, there's a bit of a delay, so we'll wait a few seconds. If anybody else in chat has any other questions, we'll take those. If not, we'll move on. And then I did fix our windows for you and I. There's the third window is like the bottom halves of us. It's weird, but it should be fine for as short as it is. No, don't worry. No, Ted, I asked you to ask a question. I wanted you to ask a question, and we answered it as best we can. I just think that's a question that we could spend an hour answering it and still not do a better or worse job. So I just want to kind of, I want to move on, but it's not because I don't value the question. I don't think I have anything else more to say. If I keep talking, I'm just going to make it worse, not better.
We could spend a whole episode talking about that, and I think the best would be to bring people who are what's the word I'm looking for? More accustomed to
or just a variety. Someone.
There you go.
Yeah,
variety was the word I was looking for. A variety of people that could really weigh in on that.
Yeah,
I think you have two people who are very much of the mindset of if you're having fun, like you're not wrong,
right?
But everybody needs to have fun. So.
So it is Wota, WOTAH. They jumped in, and again, I don't remember seeing that name before, so thank you for joining us. I don't know if you're a listener to the podcast, just haven't joined Discord or joined this before, or just found us, whatever, but happy to have you with us. Targus asks, who is cast in the Forbidden Lands campaign? So we haven't settled on a system. Forbidden Lands is certainly in that list. It's in the short list, but I don't know that it's going to be Forbidden Lands. We don't have a cast yet either, but the interested parties include Caleb, Matt, Brad, Lisa, and Ryan. And actually, other Ryan, so two Ryans. Yep. Are the ones, these are all faculty or extended faculty from when we had the network that might be joining in whenever we get started. But there's no real timetable. But I am going to be running a trial of Forbidden Lands that we're going to record soon, and there's a few people that are interested in that as well. Rami asked about a quick pitch for Numenera. Are you familiar with Numenera, Chris?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to give the quick pitch then so that I'm not talking all the time?
Ooh, I wouldn't say I'm a super expert. Numenera is set kind of in the future. If I remember right, there's 9 civilizations that have existed.
It's a billion years in Earth's future.
Yeah, so there's different civilizations stacked on top of each other. So there's lots of neat things you can find. A lot of the magic items are kind of one-shots. It's very kind of narrative the way you describe the characters. Like you might have a quick fighter or a swift thief. I've only played it a few times, so I'm not super familiar with it. A lot of storytelling is real easy with it. I personally have a little bit of a hard time wrapping my head around the setting, because the idea of things just laying around that are useful but nobody really uses them kind of twists my head a little bit, but I guess that's part of the appeal for some people. It's a D20 system.
Sort of.
Too much. Yeah.
You got, again, I'm by no means an expert either, but yeah, it's the 9th world. So there's been 8 civilizations that have spanned the world and fallen. And, if you, look at what in true like cosmology, I think that's the right word. there's a good chance our Earth won't be here in a billion years. Like their sun's going to explode and kill our universe or our galaxy. But that didn't happen in this world. Probably some alien technology has kept that from happening or whatever. So there's all kinds of technology that lays around that is so old, but no one knows what it does. So you might have someone that has found something that they're using as like a stove, because when they hit a couple buttons, it gets hot and they're able to cook food on it. But it's actually designed to be like a teleporter. And if they hit certain combinations of buttons, it'll explode. And those are called ciphers. And those are things that you go about and you explore and you find. And so there's a lot of like ancient ruins that are actually like super advanced technology that no one understands. So when you go underground into a temple, it might actually be a spaceship or a satellite that has fallen and got covered by a million years of, dirt and evolution change, all that kind of good stuff. But the system is the players roll, DM never rolls. Everything is rated on a scale of like 1 to 10. So like 1 being super, super easy, 10 being nearly impossible. And you have to roll equal to or above that number times 3, which is really weird, and I don't like it. So I don't like that at all, but it's just the way it works. So for example, a level 5 challenge, you're trying to jump a pit, and I say this is a level 5 challenge, you need to roll a 15. But you might have abilities that say, oh, I'm really good at jumping. So for me, instead of a 5, it's a 4. So now I got to roll above a 12. And someone might help you. And so now the 4 becomes a 3. So now you only have to roll above a 9. And if you're able to get that number all the way down to 0, you don't have to roll at all. And you've got things that you're skilled at, things that you're specialized in, and then you have things that you are really, really bad at that you have to add. So if you're terrible at jumping, the pit for you is a 6. So you have to roll over an 18. But it's very narrative focused, a lot of role play, and a lot of just, things have descriptors, a lot of one-use magic items, the ciphers that can they can be minor or major. It's like kind of weird and wild how vastly they change. But yeah, I'll run a one shot of it called the Nightmare Switch. It's I actually got it from a friend of a friend. Like it's not supposed to be something I was supposed to get a hold of. It was like a Kickstarter only thing when it first came out. So not a lot of people have played it unless they already know Numenera very well. So if you've not played it, I can almost guarantee no one's played this adventure, and it's a ton of fun. So we're playing it tomorrow with a bunch of people on the Discord, and I'm really looking forward to it because it is a lot of fun. Even though it's not my favorite system, it does things that I really, really like. Someone missed. So the campaign that I'm going to be running is, we still haven't settled on a system. Forbidden Lands is an option, and it might end up being Forbidden Lands, but we haven't settled on that yet. Someone else asked about our favorite new RPGs. So again, I've been talking a lot, so I'll go back to you, Chris. Do you have a favorite newer, something you've maybe just come upon or just started playing?
Not anything new. I honestly haven't played a lot of new stuff. I know we're going to do a trial of the Battlelords,
yep,
which I'm curious to see how that plays. Kind of a space opera, I understand.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with it either. It's called Battlelords of the 23rd Century. It's like a hard sci-fi game, very militaristic. We're going to be doing a trial of it, I think, this weekend or next. It'll be on the podcast probably a few weeks after, once I get everything edited. But yeah, so I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I haven't really had a lot of attention span for a new game right now.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a new board game I'm playing.
Oh, what's that?
Scythe. It's kind of a worker placement. All right, it's hard to describe. Think an alternate world, Russia, kind of a steampunk 1940s type setting.
Okay.
You have different factions that are vying for control of the land. So you're one part placing workers to collect resources. You're also racing to collect stars. And once somebody has 6 stars, the game's over.
Okay.
But a big part of it is you have to make sure your popularity is up with your people, because final scoring is based on your popularity. And then that multiplies your number of territories you command, the resources you have left over, the number of stars you have. So I've lost the game many times by getting the final star, but somebody else's popularity was high enough that they still scored more than I did,
Gotcha.
even though they didn't have all the stars.
So
there's a lot you have to look at.
I can see where that would be frustrating. I mean, I do like the fact that it's not like the race to the 6 stars and then you win, that you do have those other factors you have to take into account.
Yep.
So Targus, I completely agree. I think the only reason why they do that on Numenera is because they wanted it to be a D20 system. It shouldn't be. It should not be a D20 system, but they wanted it to be. But the math, again, I'm not good at math, but the math is super easy, so I can handle that.
Totally should be a 2d6, right?
Or just a D10, which is what Invisible Sun is, because everything's on a scale of 1 to 10. So if it's a 4, you just got to roll 4 or higher on the D10. It's just rolling 1 D10 isn't fun. It's just, at least it isn't for me. I have that game, Scythe, but I've never played it. I got it for a Catacon. It's literally still in the box. I don't even know if it's even been opened. Wota asked about any Modifius 2D20 games. I've ran a session of the Star Trek Adventures. So that's another game that I've ran fairly recently through the Discord. I have the starter set. I just basically read them, so I'm by no means an expert, but I did run it once, but I don't know it very well.
Is that the group that did Conan?
Yes. So Duty 20 is kind of like their system. So and they do a lot of IP stuff. I think they did like a Flash Gordon. They got the Conan, some other stuff. I've
played the Conan one a couple times.
Yeah.
It's good. I liked it.
I'd be interested in trying it, but I don't have it at the moment. Forbidden Lands is probably my favorite new game that I've played. I mean, it's very much a fantasy game, but it's not a type of fantasy. It's a type of game that if you've listened to any of my shows or listened to a lot of our podcasts, you would probably think I wouldn't like, because it's very crunchy and it's very deadly. And it's a lot of random stuff, which I'm kind of against all of those things. But this game just kind of works. It's just sort of fun in that almost silliness of how deadly it is, and how like the random charts are just like, holy crap, I rolled a D6 and now you're fighting a giant squid, which happened in one of the games. And now I have to figure out, how are you fighting a giant squid when you're not in the ocean?
It's in a big pot.
Yeah. I put it like in a big lake. So sort of like from Lord of the Rings type of a thing. But yeah, it was just, I don't know.
Just make it a Cthulhu. It pops out of an alternate universe and attacks you. It's a chaos thing.
Yeah. But it's really, really fun. The world that's set in is very interesting. It's got the books are gorgeous and relative. It's like $40 for the box set. It has 2 books and a map. One of the things about the map that I really think is cool is that basically you get all these stickers, and when you play a campaign, your group's map will end up being your map. So like when you roll on the random chart, you might find that there's a ruined castle in hex I7. So you put a little sticker on I7 that shows that there's a ruined castle there, and as you explore it, no other map might have that there. So when you're done, your campaign world will be different than anyone else's that plays. There's stickers for burial. So if I have a character die, you can put a little sticker to show where your character died in the world. And I just think, there's a part of me who's like, I'm never going to put stickers on stuff because it has to be perfect. But the other part of me is like, that's actually a really cool thing. And I think I already showed it, but their newest campaign setting, it's called The Bitter Reach, which is like this, like ice, Arctic, Antarctic sort of situation where it's basically, everything is frozen. You can't hardly find food. You always constantly have to find heat or you're going to die. So that the environment can kill you as quickly as anything. And we're going to be doing a review of that very soon. And it's just, the books are super easy to read. We did a review very recently for a book that I liked, but I had the hardest time reading it. Like it was like reading a textbook or history book. It was just so hard to read and understand. And I'm reading this thing like a novel. It's just super easy. Everything makes sense. It's very evocative. So I'd say right now Forbidden Lands is probably the top of my list. But I love running games. I'm really enjoying these one-shots. Mm-hmm. Dungeon Crawl Classics is coming up. More Marvel one-shots, probably Star Trek again. Monster of the Week is a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely good stuff.
I'm very curious to try Forbidden Lands. Your guys' review sold me on it.
Again, we got the trial coming up. I'm still looking for players if you want to jump in. And
I threw my name in the hat.
Okay. All right. Very cool. All right. So one more time around the horn. Any other questions? Thank you for asking those again. Ton of fun. But we'll wait just a few seconds because there's a bit of a delay. People are talking a lot about the Scythe board game. A lot of people really like it. I think it's on Tabletop Simulator too.
That's where I'm playing it.
Okay. So that basically you don't have to worry about all the fiddly bits. Because I hear it's pretty fiddly.
Yeah, there is a learning curve at first because there are a lot of different options you can do. And I do everything random. So you get your random faction and then your playboard is different. So you might have industrial, so the cost on things is different. Or you might have agricultural, so it changes what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same game every time. I can beat the computer on easy, but medium, I'm struggling. It's one of those games where I'm like, I'm going to try the long game in this one. And then the computer goes, oh, we know what he's doing. And then they just rush to win. I'm like, so then I'm going to rush to win. Then they both start attacking me. So now you have to defend yourself. So now you can't rush to win. It's like, ugh.
Nice. So maybe we'll have to play that on TTS sometime. You can try to teach me how to play the game. Again, we mentioned earlier, but we've been playing Marvel Legendary maybe once a week on average, sometimes more than once. Sometimes we skip a week. But I love that game. I love playing on TTS, even though it's a wonky, but because it's just so easy to get set up and you don't have to put up your cards when you're done. The newest setting came out today, Cosmos. So I will be buying that one. I don't know when it'll end up on TTS, but that's another thing. If anybody on here wants to join our Discord, we also play board games on the TTS Tabletop Simulator, which does cost, it is a price. You have to pay for it.
It's $20.
$20. I think quite a few people bought it when it was on sale for half off for like 10. Yeah. It's well worth that, even if you don't play with us, but it's definitely very cool. I like it a lot.
I like it to try games before I buy them at home.
Yeah.
Because then I don't spend $50 on a game I actually don't like.
You don't like, yeah. It definitely makes sense to try. I mean, and you can play, and these are all games that are like in the workshop area, which again, I don't understand the legality of that because you play games that you don't own. But I assume that if it was illegal, the game companies would have shut them down already. So I think there's got to be something about it where it's either legal or they just don't care because they're getting publicity. If I ever find out that's not true, then I might change my stance. But primarily I play Marvel Legendary, which I own literally every card ever made for that game. So I'm okay with playing it on there because it's just convenient for me. But
I think we have 6 expansions. Well, base set plus 6 or 7 expansions. So the way I kind of read it is the workshop is where they work out the bugs. And then once they figure that out, the company will then actually make it look better and then actually sell the game.
Gotcha.
Because Zombicide, I love that game, and it's on there for like $10, and I couldn't find it in the workshop. So I think they workshopped it, and then they put it in there and sell it for whatever.
Yeah, Zombicide's actually the first game I bought on there just because I wanted to try it. So I do own Zombicide if anybody ever wants to play that.
Does it do pretty well on there?
I mean, it's okay. It's a fiddly game, and because it's not in a workshop, but it's not automated. So you have to know what to do. So you have to know that when you flip over the card, what zombies you need to pull out, if there's any like near the manhole covers and all that stuff. So it doesn't automate any of that for you. At least if it does, I don't know how to work it.
It'd be nice if it did that for you.
It would be very nice if it did. So basically you still have to know how to play the game. It includes all the rule books and everything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still, I have that one and I'll play Marvel Legendary. So, all right. Well, no specific questions, so I think we'll wrap things up there. Chris, thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate you having me on here. Obviously, Caleb's already gone, but I appreciate having him. It's always good to have him back because he's been gone for so long. So one last time, where can people get a hold of you or sign off?
Twitter, Burlew_Chris. Check out Redemption on all your favorite podcatchers.
And come play some TTS with us. Somebody asked earlier, I think I remember, but if anybody wants an invite to the Discord, find me on Twitter, find me on Facebook, or send me an email, therpgacademy@gmail.com, and I'll send you an invite. I don't post it publicly, but I'll send it to anybody who asks. All right. I think that'll do it. So let's do a wave out. Do you have something else? It looked like you were going to say something.
Just Tom would yell at us if we didn't end it properly.
You're right. I don't know. It's my thing, and I still don't remember to do it.
I get the advantage if it's right above your head.
It is true. It is above my head. So remember, if you're having fun,
you're doing it right.
You're doing it right. So with that, we'll wave and say thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.